Hello viewers, it's Ultimate Spy 43 here, and welcome to Reviewed number 30. And today I'm going to be reviewing the Spider-Man Trilogy.
Yeah, I'm back with trilogies. It's been a while, but I said I was gonna come back. I think I said I was gonna come back to doing trilogy reviews. I just thought I'd take a break for a while and do some more independent movies, like the whole Marvel movie business I did, where I reviewed every Marvel movie for coming Civil War. Um, so I will start to do more trilogies. I do have ideas about what I could do for more trilogies. There's still plenty of trilogies that I have yet to review, and they do take longer to review. But yeah. Um, Spider-Man trilogy. So as you can see right here, this is what I'm talking about, Spider-Man trilogy. Um, just so you know, that's what I'm talking about. This Spider-Man from Sam Raimi, the director of Spider-Man trilogy. Um, the first movie, right here, that one. Well, it was, you know, honestly, this entire trilogy, it defined superhero movie. Like, it really was the most comic book accurate superhero that I've ever seen. I mean, I don't read comics. I mean, like, by that I mean I don't really pay attention to the comics. I want to get into them. I do. I really have been trying to get to myself, trying to put myself to actually reading them. Um, of course, I mean, of course, buying them, but like, I found some in the library and I can buy those, or sorry, uh, pick those up. But yeah, I have been looking into actually reading comics. Um, this was the first comic. This is the first uh, Spider-Man movie. Actually, not comic book movie because that's X-Men came first. That's the first, X-Men was the first comic book movie um, of the 2000s that came out. But this is about Spider-Man. Spider-Man was the first comic book character. Spider-Man. He was the first. Sorry, he was the first. Spider-Man was. This is the first Spider-Man movie that came out for this entire trilogy. It spanned from 2002 to 2007. Spider-Man 1, which is something known as Spider-Man. It was directed by Sam Raimi, and it starred Tobey Maguire as Peter Parker Spider-Man. It also starred Kirsten Dunst as Mary Jane Watson. She's actually a character in the Spider-Man comics. She's actually is a major part of that that community in the comics. She basically plays Peter Parker's girlfriend. This is orange-haired girl. He's like his girl of his dreams or something. That's the idea. It's basically like that. This was I mean, I like the costume in this. I love these scenes that were just played out in the movie. It's basically the origin story. This is the first origin story we get of Peter Parker. We actually showed him his powers, which actually I liked a lot. I'm not gonna review the Amazing Spider-Man simply because I didn't like the second one as much. I mean, I didn't hate it, but I mean, we're gonna agree with the fact that the second one wasn't good and that wasn't as good. But I like Tobey Maguire better. I don't know. Yeah. To me, Spider-Man wasn't bad. The first reboot wasn't bad, but this is where it all began. This is where I loved it. This is just where Spider-Man. It really, I loved it. Like Tobey Maguire, he put into the character like what no other whatever no other comic book character I've seen could put into a role like that. Like he perfected it. He's like the one Spider-Man that I actually grew up watching. You know, every year the years that it came out, I just loved it. I fell in love with the character. It's been my favorite superhero ever. So it's basically the first one focuses on Peter Parker first getting bitten by the spider. They go on a field trip to his high school goes on a field trip. I can't remember exactly where the high school goes to, but he goes on a field trip to this science lab, I believe it was, and it's basically science lab about spiders, and they're learning about basically Peter Parker's classmates. The entire field trip is learning about spiders. That's the idea, and what happens is he's there's a scene where he has there's this I think it's like a nine I think it's like a thingy or whatever. It's like a big thingy with nine little cubbies, and or I think there are 6 or 9 cubbies that each have spiders, and each have different spiders, and one of them is missing. And it turns out that one that is missing is actually the radioactive spider that is actually above them, and that's pointed by Mary Jane, which is really interesting. Of course, you know, Tom McGuire plays Peter Parker in the best way possible. This nerdy kid, better than Andrew Garfield. I mean, not to say I don't like Andrew Garfield. I like the portrayal he did in the first one. Second one, not so much, just because of the costume. But for the movie I'm talking about, I keep checking with the main Spider-Man. My opinion, by the way. But it's basically you can show how nerdy he is. He just knows everything. Wow, by that I mean like he just knows about how to talk in the sciencey way. You can tell he's all sciencey and everything. So it's he basically talks to Mary Jane for the first time because he's never actually. I don't think he actually talked to her before. He talks to her, takes a picture, you know, everything like that, and then the magical thing happens, and the radioactive spider comes down and bites Peter, and actually the scene where the spider bites him, that's really well done. I like it just captures a comic book moment where he bites him, or sorry, it bites Peter, and then it goes under the thing. Basically, it's the same thing, you know, originally in the comics. So that's how he gets his powers. We also are introduced to Harry Osborn, who is a childhood or I think high school friend to Peter. His father is actually Norman Osborn, who is actually in the movie he plays Willem Dafoe plays Harry Osborn, also known as Green Goblin. He becomes the Green Goblin later on in the movie. James Franco plays Harry Osborn, who's like the best pal with Peter Parker, which is pretty cool. I actually like this Harry Osborn better. In the Amazing Spider-Man movies, we didn't get to see that portrayal um, until the second movie, which is disappointing. That's why this first reboot of Spider-Man movies wasn't as good. Um, so, but yeah, for this movie, it was pretty good. I mean, in terms of the characters that were introduced, especially from the comics, they were from the ones that were introduced in the comics. It was really well done. So I mean, I thought the one with the phone did a good job with it. It's basically you know he's struggling with life high school. He gets his powers. He finds out what he can do. He like actually the thing that really where it starts off is where he finds his he first happens is he saves Mary Jane from falling from slipping on what looks like I think chocolate milk or something, some kind of gross liquid thing that's accidentally fallen on the floor to fall before. He saves her and catches all her stuff. Actually, that scene is actually not um acted out. That was improvised. I think actually no. I think no. It was. well, it was acted, but it was done all in one take. So there was no like stunt people. There was no like the wires. It was all Tobey Maguire and his reflexes, his good acting. He's able to get all in one take apparently. That's just fact right there. Um, so yeah, that was a really cool part. That was basically how it is. And then later on, he finds this fork stuck to his hand. Take, takes it out. Turns out it can make it. Turns out he can make webs out of his hand, and he starts learning about webs. These actually are organic webs. They come directly from his wrist, which is not actually in. Well, I think it actually. I think that's either a version of from the comics or not from the comics at all. It's like interesting concept. I like the concept of the whole organic. Not people are gonna agree with me on this, but I like it. I thought it was really well done in terms of just what it is, because I just love that. It's like how it just organically comes out of his wrists. Um, so it's basically him discovering his powers, to climb up walls. I thought the scene where he was looking at his thumb and seeing the little, I guess the little thing, the feelers or whatever, the most like scaly feelers, because as the camera zooms in on the thumb, it just looks so gross and just slimy, and just as the feelers come out, these spiky feelers come out, and they zooms out, and then you can climb walls, so like it's like climbing walls, you know. And so he basically tests out the powers, and he finds that he can, and then he tests out his webs. He does the whole, I think it has something to do with like go up, go, up and away web, fly, Shazam, and then he finds out he can do it by using, like, I think it's or does and then he does make a dog face, and he goes like this, and then he does this, and then he realizes he can do it. He's like, and does two times, and then he discovers his powers. He discovers he has the power to not only climb up walls but also swing webs, or shoot webs, which is pretty cool. And then that's just finds out he has his power to a spider, since the radioactive stuff happened. So he comes home. Basically about that. He comes home. He finds that he has a bad dream about Oscorp, and then what happens is Norman becomes a Green Goblin, but the test goes wrong or something. It's your typical, comic book thing that happens. A villain decides to do something and it goes wrong and turns into a villain. He does his test, it goes wrong. It makes him go crazy, and then he steals this glider and this suit, and then he becomes the Green Goblin. That's the idea. And then Peter Parker is trying to impress Mary Jane by finding a car, because it was one night where he actually talks to Mary Jane, and and so and he sees a car at the end of where he sees her going off to a car, like, oh, cool car, and he starts to investigate about that. And then what happens is that um he looks into cars, and he finds this wrestling match available. He sees that it's for $3,000 for 3 minutes. It's basically after that, and then he starts designing his costume. Well, he doesn't have the full Spider-Man costume yet, but he has like the wrestler's outfit version of the Spider-Man costume, which is what he calls the human spider. Basically just like red, like a little bit of red, a little bit of blue, kind of all meshed together, and then a little, like, I guess like a thug's mask, the little mask that thugs wear when they're robbing something. The little thing that has a little eye thing, little like oval sort of thingy, where you can see the eyes, and that's the idea. And then of course adhesive gloves. I think that's the idea. Where you can shoot webs. And so he goes there after a long time with Ben about great power and responsibility, which is basically the idea of who Spider-Man is. And he finally goes to the wrestling match. He's in a library. He fights Bunsaw, which is I think actually I think that's a minor villain. He defeats him. He's only for 2 minutes. So he gets $100 instead of $3,000, which is very outrageous to him. He gets money. He takes off. He finds what he thought who he thought was Uncle Ben's killer. Turns out it's the guy who's um helping Phil Marco, aka Sandman, later in Spider-Man 3. steal the money, and so he lets him go. Finds out that Uncle Ben died. After going there, actually that scene where he was going to Uncle Ben to like mourn him, it was like, I mean, some people think that's like the worst. It's like the most cheesy scene ever because he looks like a crybaby. Like that. Like I can't really describe. I can't really make the expression, but like it's just like people thought that scene was just cheesy and just like not good acting. That's the only scene that I have to agree that was not like I could have seen better. Um, and that's where the difference between the Amazing Spider-Man movie and this one come into play. In terms of the portrayal of Peter Parker. There are some cons and pros to Peter Parker's portrayal of Tom Maguire, or sorry, Tom Maguire's portrayal of Peter Parker. Sorry, but yeah, I mean, it wasn't that bad. I did think it was a bit cheesy. If I was like, not really worked up, the whole crying thing was not very much worked up. And then of course he chases down the quote killer. Turns out to be just the guy who was working for Marco, who's also known as Sandman later. Um, and then it goes crazy where he finally designs his costume. This is actually a thing he draws of Spider-Man, and it's actually driven straight from the comics. So he basically designs it, starts helping people out, and then the Green Goblin comes to town. Before that he gets a job. He graduates high school. He gets a job at the Daily Bugle. Actually, there's a scene before that where where it's just before he tests out his powers. He actually faces off against against Flash Thompson in the movie. When he turns out you can like a 4 backflips in one go, which is pretty crazy. That was actually a pretty like total comic book scene. Like, dodging a punch, breaking his arm, or like straightening Flash Thompson's arm, doing like 4 backflips in one go, like whoosh, 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 like that. It was a big scene. And then he gets a job at the Daily Bugle. Basically, just gets a job at the Daily Bugle. Crazy things happen. Um, Green Goblin comes into town. He has to fight Green Goblin. And it's basically how it goes. The rest of the movies is his showdown with the Green Goblin, where he has to defeat him, somehow figure out how to defeat him, um, and then towards the end of the movie, we have actually there's a big scene where we have Spider-Man who is either he's helping he has Mary Jane in his hands, and then he has a bunch of civilians, or no. Oh, I'm missing a scene. Sorry, there was actually a scene before that where it was Aunt May, who was played by Rosemary Harris, who's actually comic book accurate in terms of what she looked like in the comics. She's this old lady, and she looks accurate. That's my the reason why it's my favorite. This trilogy is my favorite is because she's the most accurate portrayal of Aunt May. Um, so she's saying her apparently isn't it like saying her prayers for Uncle Ben, and then Green Goblin bursts into her room while she's like saying a big like prayer thing. And he asks her to finish it, and then she basically goes into, I think it's shock or something. She goes into shock. Finds out the Green Goblin did, and then Peter Parker finds out the Green Goblin did this, and then fast forward to the scene I was talking about, because I missed the scene I was talking about. And then the scene where he has to make a choice between Mary Jane and a bunch of civilians in a bus tram thingy, or a tram, I think, I don't know. So yeah, that is a big thing that happens. So that he saves both of them eventually, and then he goes to face off against the Green Goblin. Turns out it's actually, after a long fight, turns out it's actually Norman Osborn. So that's a big thing. That's a really big reveal, is the fact that like he's like stop with me, and it turns out it's Norman Osborn. And then what happens is that um there's the funeral of Norman Osborn, and then at the end, the very end of that, you have Mary Jane confessing her feelings for Peter Parker, and this is where I'm like, what? So basically, what happens is Peter Parker does the dumb thing and says, "I only think of you as a friend." It's like that's the perfect moment. It's like the girl of your dreams is saying that she's in love with you, and you're like, "Oh, I just think of you as a friend." This is the only thing about the movie that just doesn't make sense at all. Is the fact that he has a big crush on Mary Jane, the girl of his dreams, and then he finds out that in the movie that she's like in love with him, and then he's like, "Oh, well, you're just a friend. I just think you're your friend." Like that's the point where I'm like, okay, that's just crazy. Like that's weird. And it's weird because it's like it's not that's not him. That's like Peter Parker to just say I just feel you as your friend. I don't know why he was doing that. Honestly, I don't know why he was doing that. I don't know why he did that. That's just it doesn't make sense. It really does not make sense. I really wish I knew why that happened because it really doesn't make sense. Um, I did think that the very end of the movie where you see Peter Parker swinging through town for New York City, that was amazing. I mean, I love the score. The score is amazing. Like it really is. It's majestic. Danny Elfman actually composed the score for Spider-Man, and it's phenomenal. You should hear it. It's so good. It's so amazing, especially having it with the swinging from building to building. That sequence was amazing. Like the chorus, and you can hear people like oh like that kind of thing. I mean, honestly, the score that Danny Elfman composed was beautiful. It was so sorry, it was so amazing. I loved it. That's just why this trilogy is all amazing. This is actually the same score throughout all three movies. I think each movie has this is like a I think partway through each score there's a little bit of a different thing you have to move for what's to come in the movie. So like I think there's a slightly different score for Doc Ock in Spider-Man 2, and then there's more of a Sandman slash Venom theme going on in a darker, grittier theme going on in Spider-Man 3. Um, so that's Spider-Man. And then we got Spider-Man 2 right here. Um, so Spider-Man 2. This was actually my favorite movie out of the entire Spider-Man trilogy. Um, well, I think I did like Spider-Man 3 more, but I still thought this was really good. Just because of the villain. And this villain was Doc Ock. Dr. Otto Octavius, aka Doc Ock. Basically, this scientist who an experiment goes wrong, and he basically uses these mechanical arms um, to to help him with his experiment of I think it's like fusion or something. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was this big machine he was using to do this experiment. And when the machine goes wrong, it will overload, of course, and basically the chip in the back of his neck that helps his brain like control the arms breaks, and so it makes the arms literally fuse to him so that he becomes evil, which is typical of a villain in a comic movie where something bad will happen and whatever they were using to do it, something doesn't go wrong and now they're part of it. So the arms are part of Doc Ock, and so that's how he becomes Doc Ock. He does that, and so it's basically about that. Peter Parker adjusting to life, it's still adjusting to life after Spider-Man 1. Still at the Daily Bugle. Um, things are going crazy with Mary Jane and everything. She's apparently dating. Apparently, she's dating J.J. Jameson's son, and eventually they get married at the end of that movie. Actually, they almost get married. They're fiance, but they almost get married at the end of that. I think that was the big point of the movie is the whole Doc Ock thing. Um, that was amazing. Um, so yeah. the whole train scene where that's happening. Actually, there's a scene where Harry Osborn is gives because what happens is actually this is there's also a character that appears in this movie too, and he didn't actually get a comic book. His comic book counterpart doesn't actually make an appearance in Trilogy. He does actually make and that's Dr. Kurt Connors, Curtis Connors or whatever. Yeah, Kurt Connors. He doesn't actually make an. He's also Eagle the Lizard doesn't actually make an appearance in the movie. However, he does make an appearance in the video game Spider-Man 3, which is pretty cool. I mean, he doesn't actually make an appearance. The character himself as a lizard doesn't make an appearance until the Amazing Spider-Man, which I'm not going to review. I don't want to review it because I don't care for it. I mean, yeah, I do like the design of the suit for the Amazing Spider-Man, but overall, I mean, I don't know. I might review it. If I really, I might, I don't know. I'll have to think about that, but I might. Um, but that being said, the second one was really well done. I thought the villain of Doc Ock was phenomenal. I love when they come up with names for him. For Hoffman, who's the Daily Bugle Hoffman, who's played by Ted Raimi, who's literally the brother of Sam Raimi, the director of the movie. He looks pretty similar to Sam Raimi also. He plays Hoffman. I can't remember what his first name is, but he plays Hoffman. Basically the right hand man to Jonah Jameson, basically, who's played by J.K. Simmons, the amazingly talented J.K. Simmons, who does amazing work. He's an amazing actor. He looks exactly. Actually, funny thing is, J.K. Simmons, he looks exactly like the character from the comics. Literally, he looks exactly like him. He got the hair, he got the little white stuff at the end, he got a mustache. He literally looks like him. It's pretty awesome. I love that. I love that part about the movie is that he looks like him. The entire trilogy, he looks exactly like him, which is awesome. Actually, Betty Brant does make an appearance in all three of the movies. Yeah, all three of the movies. She's played by Elizabeth Banks. If you don't know where she plays, if you trick it in the Hunger Games movies, I don't know if I'm gonna review those. I might. I don't know. But she plays Betty Brant, who's in the comics. She plays one of the love interests of Peter Parker. At least in the early ages of the Spider-Man comic, she plays Peter Parker's girlfriend. There are many iterations of Peter Parker's girlfriend. So yeah. There's actually a thing about the movie is that the fact that Peter Parker actually works at a pizza place, Joe's Pizza. He works there, and he actually gets fired after failing to deliver a pizza in time to. It's actually funny. There's actually a cameo appearance by I think it was Emily Deschanel, who's the sister of the beautiful Zoe Deschanel. If you don't know her, she plays Trinity or Trillion in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which is one of many best movies ever. And she makes an appearance as a clerk at a place. I don't actually know where it is, but it's his place. Looks like an office. There's actually this really funny gag where Peter Parker's putting all these brooms and shit like that into a closet, and he's having trouble with it, and he finally gets to the pizza, and he's like, pizza time, and she's like, I'm not paying for those. And it's actually that line, pizza time, has actually become a meme throughout YouTube poops. I noticed it's really funny. So that thing is where it's a big thing because he actually delivers pizza as Spider-Man. So, yeah. So I think that's actually a side job he has. I think he goes back to working the Daily Bugle. I think he either gets fired or he like tackles two jobs. I can't remember exactly how it plays out. So yeah. Oh wait, didn't I? I think I forgot Stanley's cameo from Spider-Man 1. I don't actually remember that one when it was. Yeah, I don't remember where that one was. don't remember. It's something. I know it's something, but I just don't remember what it was. But this one was where he where oh, I remember now. So there's a scene in I'm going back to Spider-Man 1 real quick. There's a scene where it's the first time the Green Goblin attacks New York, and it's at this festival place, um and it's where Peter Parker like actually it's one of the where Peter Parker takes just adults out of the way. And this big balloon place. You probably know what I'm talking about. So that's the thing that happens is that Stanley actually um, he makes an appearance by getting by there's a part of there's like this um, deck area that falls on a chunk of it falls and it mainly crushes someone, but Stanley managed to come into play and get the person out of the way. That's his cameo. And then Spider-Man 2, it's one of the pieces of debris from the building where Doc Ock is fighting Spider-Man. Um, and he makes a brief appearance like that. Appearances are more brief in this one. And actually, I think my favorite scene from this movie, Spider-Man 2, is where Spider-Man comes in to work um, and says, "Can I get an advance?" And J.K. Simmons is J.J. Jameson is like, like and then he's like, and he laughs like the best laughs ever. And then he's like, "You serious? Pay for what standing there?" That was the best line ever. Not only the best line, but the best scene ever. And this again, fires on fires Peter Parker. I'm sorry, it's just I've seen so many YouTube clips of that scene. It's hilarious. Um, but yeah, that was a great scene. So that's how it happens. Barry Brent comes in and says it's a monetary meeting, which is actually a thing where he's at, where James Franco's Harry Osborn is at. Apparently not forgiving. Um, apparently still blaming Spider-Man um for his dad's death because he doesn't know the Peter Parker Spider-Man yet. Um, so that's a big thing. And also, so basically, the next thing that happens um, is that Doctor Octopus, he wants to basically rebuild the same machine that killed his wife, because Peter Parker actually came to Doctor Otto Octavius' lab to see what's going on. And meets his wife Rosie, and of course she's killed by a thingy that happens at the thingy, the thingy by means of which is the thing that Dr. Octopus basically invents a machine, and he needs more money, so he goes to the bank and robs the bank. Big fight between Spider-Man and Dr. Octopus. Beforehand, you have a still scene where Aunt May and Peter Parker are figuring out their mortgage on their house. They're trying to figure that out because actually Peter Parker's moved there by now. Peter Parker just actually just helping Aunt May out. I think in this movie he's either moved or just about to move, because there's a scene where he comes by the house and he sees Aunt May packing the house because she's moved, I think. And says, and it's like, she's like, and actually finds out where all this comes from. That's the idea. So he basically goes to figuring out how to finance their home, and this guy who's really is hilarious with this guy, and he's really funny because like he actually the YouTube clip, there's that YouTube clip where it was Aunt May kept kicking him, because there's a scene where she kicks him and he's like, ow, he's like ow. And the YouTube was basically where she keeps kicking him over and over, and he's like, ow. It is hilarious. You should check it out. There's actually a lot of those. So there's a big fight between Doc Ock and Peter Parker. Actually, there's a scene where Peter Parker actually his web's kind of getting clogged up for some reason, and so that's a big thing. Is that, and then of course he actually fights Doc Ock um, on a building, and May's in the way, and it's a big thing like that. It's a really big. It's actually really nice. It's a really big fight. It's pretty comic accurate. Um, so yeah, there's actually a big point in the movie where Spider-Man actually loses his powers. Yeah, Peter Parker actually, for some reason, his webs just keep jamming up, and they're not just not working well, and so he just actually decides to quit being Spider-Man for some reason. Um, yeah, for some reason his webs are actually acting up, and they just won't shoot. I don't know why. He doesn't actually know why, but they're they they keep clogging up. So that's a big thing. Is that like there's a scene where he's flying through the air on his webs, and then suddenly he can't shoot anymore, and his webs suddenly clog up, and so he lands on a thing, and he finds out that he just can't do it anymore, so he quits being Spider-Man. J. Jonah Jameson's really happy about that. And then a big thing that happens um, is that Dr. Octopus actually comes by because he needs more. He doesn't have it. Apparently, he has the money he needs, but he needs more tritium. I think the substance is called to power the machine. Um, so basically blow up the city. That's the idea because that's who he is. Um, so what happens is he comes by Harry Osborn's place. He um he tells him he needs more tritium, and then Harry Osborn makes a deal with him. He tells him to bring Spider-Man, and he can only have the tritium he wants. He brings him. It's a big thing where Doc Ock comes to Peter Parker while he's actually having a date with Mary Jane, but it's basically like an apology date. Um, because I guess things aren't working very well, and actually early in the movie, um, yeah, early in the movie, um, I think it was, yeah, yeah, I know, yeah, I think it was that, um, where I might be mistaken, it might be Spider-Man 3, but I'm pretty sure that it's Spider-Man 2 where Mary Jane goes over to Harry's and has dinner and they kiss. Basically, that's the idea. Um, so wait, no, no. I'm thinking it was Spider-Man 3. Sorry, I can't remember which one it was. It was one of the two. So that didn't happen yet. That happened in Spider-Man 3. I'll get to that after this one. So basically she comes by to apologize to him, um, and like says kiss me or whatever, and they almost kiss, and then suddenly Doc Ock comes in the way and asks for Spider-Man, and he doesn't know where he is, so it's a big little fight thingy, and so basically he takes Mary Jane to his little palace thingy, and so what happens is that let's see. So, well, yeah. So he has to because Peter Parker lost his powers. Know why? I don't actually know why. He just lost his powers. He can't. He doesn't know actually how to do it. He doesn't know how to become them anymore. So he does the whole great powers, great responsibility thing, the whole line thingy from the first movie. He he basically makes a fist and just tries really hard, and then suddenly he can fight Spider-Man again, and he's back, and he goes face off against Doc Ock, and so um yeah, that there's and he finally meets him, faces up against him, battle on a big train. There's a big train scene, and that's actually a really big good really important a really amazing scene is the train scene where he's fighting Doc Ock on the train. Um, and there's a lot of action going on. Um, and there's actually a point where I think it was um actually, yeah, it was definitely on a train that was fighting on. Definitely on a train. So actually takes his he has to take his he actually has to take his mask off because something happened where he gets burned by something. I can't remember actually what it was, but he gets burned by something, and he uh he has to save the train from there's a thing at the end. There's a bridge at the end. I think there's a bridge that isn't completed or something like that, and he has to stop it. So he basically gets in front of the train, stops with his webs, like his suit is taken teared apart a little bit, but does it anyway, and then he's defeated by he basically he runs out of energy, and then um he gets he gets taken by Doc Ock, who takes him to Harry's house with the tritium that he needs to disconnect the thing, and then Harry finds out that Spider-Man is actually Peter Parker to his big surprise, and like big surprise, like Harry's like no, like the whole Luke Skywalker to Darth Vader thing. He's like no, that's not true. You can't be my best pal. Um, so that's the thing. And then of course Harry doesn't forgive him. He's like, "You killed my father." And Spider-Man goes and he goes to battle Doc Ock, and that's actually a big thing where he does that. Um, where he finds Mary Jane and he defeats he battle has a little short battle with Doc Ock, who basically syncs with it. Before that, Peter Parker actually reveals to Mary Jane who he actually is, and it's a pretty big reveal. It's like this thing is very heavy or whatever. Um, so basically, at the end of the movie, he reveals to her who he is. Um, Big surprise there. Um, and of course, she's already engaged to to James Jonathan. I think that's the idea. Is James Jonathan, James yeah James Jameson. I don't know. Basically the son of J.J. Jameson, who's the boss of the legal very part of his work. Um, so yeah, that was a big thing. And so basically there's a wedding, and then she actually doesn't come to the wedding. Instead of getting married to J.J. Jameson, she goes to Peter because she loves him. He loves her, and she returns the love. Um, and she goes to his now house because he didn't ask for it. Now he has an apartment, a really shitty apartment, but apartment at that. Um, so yeah, actually, there's this girl he knows that apartment. It's actually moved to this new apartment, and she goes to the apartment in her wedding dress, by the way. And yeah, it's basically this like where she's like, "Go get him, Tiger," and it's pretty much the end of the movie. I'm pretty sure. And that's basically sets up the fact that they're not together. So yeah, that was Spider-Man 2. Um, oh wait, I didn't. Well, okay, I'll do it at the end. I'll do it at the end of in this review. Um, so yeah, that was Spider-Man 2. Now Spider-Man 3, which is this little guy. Spider-Man 3 is actually I liked it a lot more than Spider-Man 2. I mean, I already know Spider-Man 2 was good, was really good, but Spider-Man 3 was really well done. I thought. It actually Spider-Man 2 came out in 2002, about 2 years after the original, and then Spider-Man 3 came out in 2007, which is 3 years after the second one. So it's I think either a couple of months or a couple of years since the second movie. Um, so yeah, Peter Parker is now dating um Mary Jane, the girl with dreams, finally. So that's a big thing. It's also a big thing because at the beginning of the movie, he introduces Gwen Stacy, played by um, Dallas Howard, who actually made an appearance as Claire in Jurassic World. And if you watch my Jurassic Park Trilogy review, you know who I'm talking about. Uh, um, but yeah, so she's played by that actress, gorgeous actress by the way. Actually, I can tell she's dyed her hair because I think that Bryce Dallas Howard is actually a brunette. She does her hair for the role. And she's not a very major character. Pretty minor. I mean, she isn't the Gwen Stacy that is like a love interest of Peter Parker. Because that's Mary Jane. But we do have a new character that makes an appearance in this movie. For the first time, Eddie Brock, also known as Venom, later in the movie. We also have Clint Marco, who's the guy responsible for murdering Uncle Ben, which is something we didn't even know about in the first movie. We actually have a huge flashback scene where that happens. So this movie is basically about Peter Parker. He's still going on as Spider-Man and doing it, and so it's actually the ceremony about him being Spider-Man. He saves Gwen from a I think it's a 3-story building, and it goes crazy, and yeah, so that happens. Actually, the big baddie is Venom, which is this alien symbiote creature that comes from space. Shortly after, because it was the very beginning of the movie, you have Peter Parker and Mary Jane Watson who are like passionately kissing because they're like so in love and everything, and that's just part of the romance of the movie is that they're like now hugely in love, and she knows he's Spider-Man and everything like that. It's so crazy and awesome. Um, so and as they drive off into the distance on the motorcycle, the slimy creature thing, symbiote known as Venom, latches onto a part of it latches onto the motorcycle and basically starts going after Peter Parker. Um, there's actually a lot more of class in this movie. He actually has a well, he goes to college now. He finally gets to college because apparently it didn't happen. He goes to college now. So yeah, that's a big thing. He goes to college. Um, so yeah. There's actually a couple of origin stories, I think. Well, actually, the major one is Soul Marker is introduced as a character. This character really develops. It's basically this criminal who's responsible for the murder of Uncle Ben, and he's also just a Wonder Man in general. Um, like I think that's either he's a Wonder Man because he killed Uncle Ben, or he's just a Wonder Man in general because he's a criminal. But he becomes Sandman by use of a machine that he gets caught in. Then apparently there's this place that he goes to where they're testing this machine. It turns out to be a machine that like does like I don't know minerals or something that happens to do with sand, and so he gets sucked inside the machine and turns into Sandman. And he didn't like it, but also he found out it's actually useful. And he goes to rob a truck or whatever with money because he needs to help his daughter. His daughter's dying, so he needs to help her. So that's a big thing. And also the big celebration of Spider-Man is where he goes there and he kisses Gwen Stacy, and to Mary Jane, much to Mary Jane's displeasure. And that's the big thing that happens. There's actually a big thing in the movie where Harry Osborn actually goes after Peter Parker, and this is the first time that Peter Parker actually goes around swinging his webs without the costume on, without the Spidey suit, which is a different term. But what are you gonna do if you don't have your spider suit ready? You are literally on the road, and your best friend attacks you. It's like you know you don't have time to do anything really. Um, so yeah, that was a big part of the movie where he faced off against Harry Osborn. Um, and because actually Harry Osborn is basically avenging his father by taking on the role of New Goblin, which is actually at first, and if you heard the podcast on the Madhouse, I talk about Hobgoblin. I thought that Hobgoblin was actually Harry. I thought that this version was wrong. I thought that they got him wrong. I thought that it was supposed to be Harry Osborn as Hobgoblin, but apparently that's not true. Apparently, he just called the New Goblin. Um, just the new version of the Green Goblin or something like that, but a different version of him. He has a different suit and a different glider. He's actually the glider looks more like a skateboard kind of thing. It's more like a flat board. And it's actually a really well designed board. I like the design of the board. Um, not to mention the score of this is really just dark, and this is actually, before I go on, this movie was actually the most was the darkest movie in the Sony part of the Marvel universe. The Spider-Man, just the Spider-Man part of the Marvel universe. I've talked about that before on the podcast. The fact that this movie was the darkest movie and darkest and grittiest movie I've seen, just because of how creepy it is and just how it gets with Venom and stuff. And just in general, the soundtrack, the score is dark and just amazingly just awesome. I mean, Dan Elfman returns to do it again, but it's just awesome. So yeah, and so she apparently there's a thing where Harry goes to the hospital because Peter Parker accidentally defeats him by knocking him almost unconscious and almost dying. And so he, after recovering that, he finds out he remembers what happens, and he goes after Peter Parker. Or before that, he has a date with Mary Jane, and he gets Emily's ring to propose to her. Turns out it didn't work out so well because Mary Jane found out that he had kissed Gwen Stacy as Spider-Man, and she knows he's Spider-Man, so that's like a big deal. Um, so yeah, that's a huge deal. And also Sandman comes to town. There's a big battle with that. And he fights and he finds out how powerful Sandman is. Like, jigs up, pal. I'm the sheriff of these parts. He's like, cool, and he has a big fight with Sandman. So in this movie, there's actually three villains. There's Sandman. There's New Goblin. However, New Goblin actually becomes on a Spidey side, and then there's Venom. So basically, there's a whole thing with Venom is that the big part of the movie is when Peter Parker he goes to sleep, or yeah, he goes to sleep and he dreams about Uncle Ben, and he's so sad about it because he finally tried. Before he finds out who Flint Marko is, and then he basically lets the Venom symbiote get on him, and then he basically transforms into the black suited Spider-Man. Basically, it's different because he's not wearing his mask, but like the Venom symbiote, the gooey, like it's basically this gooey stuff, this gooey substance stuff that like can crawl and everything, and has like arm like finger stuff or whatever. It's just like this creepy colored stuff, this gooey crap. Basically crawls on him. There's apparently enough of it they can gets all the way onto Peter Parker's Spidey suit, and basically crawls all over his body. And actually, what's really interesting is that so every time you see a part of the suit get engulfed in the black stuff, it basically turns the suit black. It just literally that's it. It makes it's the same suit, but just it's a black version. However, what I found interesting about the scene, the very end of towards the end of the scene when Venom gets onto Peter Parker's face, like when it's like this, and he just wakes up just in time to see that it covers his face. What's really interesting about that is that since Peter Parker wasn't actually wearing the Spidey mask, the Venom basically gives him a special mask. I guess that's the idea. I think that's the idea, is that he gives him a special mask as part of the suit. Because he wasn't wearing a mask, so so the Venom basically crawls onto his face and covers his entire face, and it basically becomes a whole entire mask. And that's where the dark stuff gets him. He basically becomes this different version of Peter Parker, this darker version. His hair he's all gothic and everything. What's actually interesting about it in the movie is that he's able to take the mask off fine, but by the end of the movie, when he's taking it off, it won't come off because it's like bonded to him. Like it at first it bonds to him, but like it's real gentle and it's not scary. It's not scary by turning him dark and crazy or like that. But it does make him like it does make him. So at first he can use his power to feel good and everything, and by the end of the movie when he has to stop, Venom realizes that he doesn't like that, so he tries to take it off and it won't come off basically. Um, so he uses the suit by going by um swinging webs and stuff and becomes the new Spider-Man. He takes over he takes out Marco's Sandman. They had a big battle in the underground, in the sewer, on a train. Finally defeats Sandman, saying "Good riddance," which is a really dark line. Like that's not a Peter Parker at all. That's just like you wouldn't say "Good riddance." That's just like really dark. Like wow. So that's basically what happens. Sandman turns to mud, and everything goes crazy. Um, and then you find out that Eddie Brock is this jerk. Basically, um, gets the job and takes over. He basically takes over the Peter Parker's job, which is not cool. And so what happens um, is that he he gets a fake photo, and it turns out to be not real. And he gets fired for it, turns his career totally into darkness. Peter Parker becomes like the new head of. He basically takes over Jane Jameson's job or something like that. I can't see it yet. He goes punk. He goes called gothic and everything, and he goes shop and he goes just all gothic like, and he goes crazy. He just because it's taking over him. And so what happens is that he goes to this bar thingy. I think that's the idea. Or no, this is concert place or whatever. It's just like live music place where he finds Mary Jane. Because first Mary Jane breaks up with him, or I think that's the idea. And then he goes to this place where actually before that he finds out that Harry Osborn kissed Mary Jane and they're like no together apparently. He gets revenge on him by using this symbiote to take out Harry Osborn by fighting him and like saying like Harry Osborn's like I protected you in high school and now I'm gonna kick your little ass, and that was a huge fight. That's actually really action oriented. Seeing a lot of like a lot of fist fighting and a lot of combat, which is crazy. So yeah, that was a big scene. But then there's the whole scene where Peter Parker is actually there's the scene with in college and stuff where he's taking care of that. There's also where he's investigating where Connors is investigating the he's basically investigating the symbiote. He talks to Peter Parker um through the phone. He's doing all this crap like that. Um, so yeah, basically Peter Parker goes to this musical thing, has a big fight, and then accidentally hits Mary Jane. He's like, "Who are you?" He's like, "I don't know." And then he goes to the bell tower. He finds out that symbiote's taking over him. He starts to get rid of it. At the same time, though, Eddie Brock goes to the chapel or the cathedral, or the cathedral that Peter Parker's at while taking the suit off. Um, and turns out that he wants revenge on Peter Parker. He's like, he's been humiliated too many times, so he asks Jesus to basically kill Peter Parker for him. He finds that Peter Parker's here. He goes up. He finds out Peter Parker's actually in there, taking off the suit. Actually, this scene was my favorite scene in the entire movie, just because of how dark it was. Like it's creepy and a little scary at the same time. I mean, not too scary, just like very much scary. It's just amazing. Like really is amazing. So basically, he takes off the stuff. He basically takes off the. Eventually, he gets the Venom stuff off. You can see Peter Parker naked actually, but you can basically see that happening. And A Brock is like he basically the first thing that happens is part of the stuff comes on Eddie Brock, takes the city off, and then it gets on his arm, and it starts coming on, and then it gets on his shoulders, and then it quickly wraps itself around Eddie Brock's shoulders, and then Eddie Brock has to get, and then Eddie gets on the ground, and then the Venom then symbiote basically takes over Eddie Brock, and then turns him into Venom, the one that we know from the comics. Now, the point I'm gonna have here is that people didn't like the movie simply. I mean, it wasn't a bomb. At least I don't think so. It wasn't a bomb, but it wasn't well received. It wasn't as well received as the previous two movies. I'm guessing, and this is just what I'm guessing. I'm guessing the fact that happened is that is because of the Venom, it's dying of Venom. The fact that in the comics and in the animated series that they're based off of, he's bigger than Spider-Man, and apparently that's not supposed to be. That's not comic accurate. And I don't really believe that. I don't see that. That doesn't really matter to me. But that apparently that might be why it didn't receive as well because of that. So yeah, that's why it might not have been done well because of Venom being bigger. So that's my favorite scene is the whole Venom thing where he gets on, he's like, and then he's like like that. He jumps out. He basically did a big jump scare and he looks like Venom. And then basically what happens is he recruits Sandman to go kill Peter Parker, and then of course Peter Parker is now back in the spacesuit. And then of course Peter Parker finds out what happened at the fact that Sandman not only has grown to this huge gigantic size, but also Venom is like with him too. So yeah. And then what happens is that Harry actually comes to help Peter, and because basically they have Peter Parker getting almost defeated by Venom. Um, so yeah. I also noticed how Venom's like it can scream, and its scream is really weird and creepy. I love it. It was like I can't describe it. It's like like that. I can't really like that. Like kind of like that. Like I don't know. You probably know what I'm talking about. So yeah. There's a big battle scene that happens. Like huge. It's a huge battle scene that happens. So yeah. Then what happens after that is that um, you have Harry's death scene, which is basically Venom gets hold of Harry's glider thingy, skateboard, like the board like thing, and this little I guess it was a panel at the back you can take out, and there's like a blade, and basically kills Harry with that. So that's the end of Harry. So then Peter Parker decides to go ahead and finally destroy Venom after all forever. And so he uses because with Venom it's sound that can defeat him. He finds out it's sound that can defeat him. So he gets like several little rods of metal, and then like blasts sound barriers, and basically gets Eddie Brock out of the thing. However, Eddie Brock doesn't want to leave the suit or the symbiote suit thingy. Um, so he ends up getting killed when Peter Parker throws the I think it's either Peter Parker or Harry throws I think it's Peter Parker. I'm pretty sure it's Peter Parker that throws the pumpkin bomb that belongs to Harry at Venom, thus killing Eddie, which is pretty sad. So yeah, that's a big part of the movie that's like tragic. And then there's the Harry death scene where you have Harry talking like his like dying word or whatever, and then Peter and Mary Jane are like crying, and like it's like in the Harry, and then you have one last little scene with Sandman telling Peter about what happened that night, and how the murder happened, and the fact he was only doing it for his daughter who was dying at the time. Um, and then apparently Peter Parker forgives him because he's like, oh yeah, sure, I'll forgive you, You killed my uncle, but I'll forgive you. I understand what you're going through. I'll forgive you. It's like, okay then. So then the end of the movie is basically there's actually a cameo appearance by the same guy that played Flash Thompson from the first movie. He comes back for a little cameo appearance at the funeral for Harry Osborn, which is very sad. And that's the end of the movie. So yeah, apologize for going on a bit too long. This is about my longest episode, I have to say. Really sorry about that. I didn't realize how long I was going until now. Um, so yeah, I think that'll do it for this episode. Yeah. Thank you for watching. Oh yeah, by the way, so the rating. So for the first one, I would rate it a 9 out of 10. Simply because one scene where Peter is like crying, mourning Uncle Ben. People thought that was a bit cheesy and not good acting. Um, people may have been right about that. That I would agree that probably is not like you know. I think that probably was not as good. The second one, 10 out of 10, hands down, really good movie. And then the third one, um, again, really good movie. So I don't have any problems with that. Aside from people complaining about the whole Venom size thing, where we're going to be bigger than Spider-Man, I didn't have a problem with the third one at all. I loved it. It was amazing. I love the score. That Danny Elfman is amazing when it comes to the score. It's just amazing. I loved it. I really loved it. I thought it was an amazing score. Especially the third one with the creepy, gritty, dark stuff that has the score with it. I believe that each score is different. Like I said before, I'm pretty sure. Um, with the fact that that each score has a different kind of like you know each score is different. Um, so yeah, I think that'll do it for this episode of Reviewed. Um, Again, thank you for watching. If you liked it, then please give it a thumbs up. And subscribe to my channel for more episodes. And I will see you next time for the next episode of Reviewed. Alright, see ya.